What's up everybody, Bandit here. Now I know it's a little bit of a departure from what we're normally talking about here on the channel, but I have this Jeep behind me and I really want to talk about Jeeps today. So this is a JK model. Obviously the new JL is out now in 2018 and that is the next big thing, but in my opinion, if I was going to buy a Jeep, this is what I would get. So I'll do a quick walk around here and explain to you why I think this is the best Jeep ever. So a quick history lesson for y'all. This word here does appear on many Jeep films, old war films, and the like, but this is actually pronounced Willys. It does refer back to John Willys of the Willys Overland Company, which was founded in 1908 in Toledo, Ohio, which up until a few years ago, this is where Jeeps were still made, even with the change of ownership. Now, when soldiers saw these when they were being shipped out in World War II to our allies in the 1940s, they called them Willys, which is honestly what it looks like, but it does refer back to the Willys Overland Company, which actually made quite a few different vehicles. Now, most notably, they did make the MB, which was the military Jeep. Then, after the war in the mid to late 40s, these vehicles were brought back to the United States and sold under the CJ moniker, which stands for Civilian Jeep. So, you know, we had all the way up until the CJ7, then we had the TJ, the YJ. This is a JK model, which ran from 2007 all the way up to the middle part of 2018, where the JL took over. So if you do see this, it is pronounced Willys, and if you say that, if you say Willys at least, it lets a lot of hardcore Jeep people know that you probably don't know what you're talking about. Again, that does refer back to the Willys Overland Company, which was founded over 100 years ago now, which is a neat little throwback here to the history of where this vehicle came from. Throughout the years here, Jeep has changed hands several times, and again, Jeep was not the original name for it. It was a Willys Overland MB. Very many companies actually made these, all the way up from Ford, a lot of big manufacturers, because again, in the war, we were trying to crank these things out as quickly as possible. They were also made after the war by the American Motor Company, AMC, and all the way up until Mopar and Chrysler makes them now. They are now owned by Fiat Chrysler Association, FCA, but all the way through, I believe this vehicle has still maintained a lot of its history and is still truly a Jeep. I would say Jeep is pretty proud of this vehicle as well, and their name shows up quite a few times here on the outside and inside of the vehicle. So we'll do a quick walk around and I'll show you all the different Jeep names that I can find. So you have it here in the grill. Also, this 7-slot grill is a very, very popular sign all around the world, and they're saying it has 7 slots for each of the continents it's been to, all 7 continents, and they're saying that Jeep is the first vehicle to reach all those. Now, obviously, the Toyota Land Cruiser, the Land Rover Defenders, all those vehicles have been seen around the world now, but supposedly this is the first vehicle to do that. You also have the Jeep name here in the hubcap, and you also have a old style, either a CJ or an MB. It's very hard to tell there on the wheel, and this does appear on each of the wheels. Move back here, again, it does say Willys there on the side of the hood. You have this trail rated 4x4 badge, which shows you that it is a legitimate 4-wheel drive Jeep, and they are very proud of that as well. You also have the Wrangler name, which again came much later. They were just MBs and CJs. Moving back here, you do see it on this wheel as well. You get back here to the back, they have the Willys spare tire cover rather. Again, this one says Willys. You can get them that says Jeep or whatever else. Again, under that it is a matching 5th wheel, so it'll say it again twice there. You move back here, I really love this badge here. It is the 4-wheel drive logo, kind of a throwback to the CJs of old. I really do love that feature. Moving around here, it does say it again on each of those 2 wheels. And overall, I think it's a pretty neat looking package. Now, obviously for JK models, they did introduce the 4-door. I personally still love the look of the 2-door. With the lengthened frame here for the JKs, you do have a lot more room in the back seat. But I actually had a JK when they first came out. I actually had a 2007 model, which was the first year of the 4-door, and that was okay. But looking back on it and after driving this one here, I can definitely say I do prefer the 2-door model. It does handle much like a Jeep. You know, one of the major pros for driving a Jeep or a Land Rover Defender for that matter is the shorter wheelbase. It makes navigating off-road obstacles much easier, getting turned around much easier and all like that. And overall, I think it does maintain the look of a Jeep a whole lot better. So moving inside here, you do have to grab these old school looking door handles with the push button. We haven't seen that in a modern vehicle in quite some time. But moving inside here, you can tell just how much this was the pride of Chrysler when it came out. You do have Jeep here on each of the front floor mats since 1941, again referring back to those old MBs from World War II. Each of the interior air vents here do say Jeep, and they do have kind of a nifty design. I really like how you can angle these, close them if you do choose to do that, which makes taking the top off, make a lot of sense. If you can close up all your air vents, not get a lot of dust in there, it is a really good idea. But moving across here, again on this grab handle, it does say Jeep here. Here on the inside, you can make out the windshield graphics pretty well. You have the 7-slot grill up there, as well as a small Jeep down here in this corner. Moving across, it does say Jeep here on the shifter, as well as the steering wheel. Here's the key. It also says Jeep on there. But you can see just how proud they must have been to make this vehicle. It does have a lot of history, and they show you that you're driving a Jeep just about anywhere you look in here. When these things came out, they had very, very few creature comforts, and overall Jeep has stayed pretty true to the original design. However, with this model, it has gotten a little bit better. You can get an upgraded radio. This one still has the basic radio. Mine from 2007 actually had the exact same radio, but it does have a very basic Bluetooth system. You can get XM radio, but outside of that, it is just that. With this model, you do have power windows and power locks, which is a nice feature. They're located right here in the center, since you can take off those doors. Moving over here to the door, you do have a pretty nice grab handle here, as well as the switch there for your auto locks. You also have a neat little net down here that you can throw your phone or keys or anything like that in. You also have one here in the center, as well as the driver's door. You also have a small glove box here. It is very tiny, but I really do love this. This is the owner's manual for this vehicle, Jeep, most awarded SUV brand ever, and that is honestly what's keeping FCA afloat. A lot of the brands are starting to shut down. Dodge is making less vehicles. They have diversified. They do have Ram trucks that are still doing pretty well, but Jeep here is the pride and joy of what is now FCA. Now, moving here to the center, you do have a 2-piece center console here, not very large, but it does have a small tray in the top where you could throw your phone or whatever else. Also, one thing that really stuck out to me, they have a clip here that shows a paper clip on it. So I'm not sure how many people drive their Jeep for business, but you can store your paper clips in there. Across here to the top, this is the hardtop model with the Freedom panels, so it is very similar to a T-top design where you can take each of these side panels off, or you can go ahead and remove the entire top itself. Now, since you can remove the entire top, they had to be pretty creative here with the map lights and interior lighting. So you'll move here to the bottom of the rear view mirror, and you can see it has 2 small lights in the bottom of there. You move back here to the what they call the sound bar, the crossbar that goes across the top of your roll cage here, and that's where you'll find some speakers as well as some more map lights. But what is interesting to me is just how angled these map lights are. You can clearly see that they're trying to shine towards the front of the vehicle. These are trying to shine towards the back of the vehicle, and they're trying to provide as much light as possible here with limited interior space. And this is the 2-door JK model, and to get into those back seats here, you'll push backwards on this handle here and push the entire seat forward. It does have kind of a 2-piece mechanism here where it kind of lifts up and out of the way for you to climb into the back. So once you're back here in the back, it's actually pretty spacious. Now again, they do have a longer wheelbase with a 4-door, but I still really prefer this 2-door model. None of these mid-size SUVs really have a ton of room in the back. Mid-size trucks are the same, but back here I could fit comfortably for a long time. The seats are actually really well padded, and honestly, they're pretty comfortable. I've never been back here for more than 20 minutes to half an hour. But if you had to throw someone back here, even with my 6-foot-tall frame, they would be relatively comfortable for a little while. Here's a look at what it looks like from the back seat. You can see we do have 2 small cup holders down here, and there's what it looks like from a normal driving position. I'm very comfortable there in the driver's seat. And as you can see, you'd still have plenty of room for your knees or whatever else. You also have mat pockets in the back of both of the seats, and honestly, this is pretty livable. You know, Jeeps have been pretty bare bones for quite a while, and this is no exception. You know, modern vehicles, especially from 2016, do have a lot more features, but overall, with air conditioning, power windows, power locks, and a Bluetooth radio, it's honestly not too bad in here. Now here to get in the back of this vehicle, it does have a very similar handle to the door handles. Go ahead and push the center button and give it a tug. Then once you walk back here, you can just pull up on the back glass. It does have some shocks back here to hold that back glass up. Now it's not a ton of room back here. You can see this is just a blanket. You maybe have a little over a foot of room, but you can easily throw down the back seats and have a little bit more room. The back seats in here actually come out relatively easily, so if you wanted to have a true two-door, two-seat model, it would be very easy to do so. Now you might be asking yourself why I'm such a big fan of this vehicle, and honestly that's because it's very function over form. It's very concerned with just how good it is off-road and not as concerned about being comfortable or anything like that. It has still maintained its identity as a Jeep. Now you can see it does have these large tow hooks sticking out of the front, and it also has really nice factory wheel and tire setup. Now this is the factory wheel and tire setup. Nothing has been changed other than the nearly 40,000 miles that has been added to this vehicle in the past 2 years. But you can see we do have a BFG mud terrain tire. You know, since then we've seen the KM2s and now the KM3s, but this is where it all started, and these are still a really good tire. And actually the only way that you can get these tires is with either a Willys Jeep or a Jeep Rubicon, which is much more expensive. Which brings me to my next point. You know, these vehicles are slotted with several different trim levels, all of which are pretty basic. You know, you can still add navigation or leather seats or anything like that, but none of these vehicles have any sort of autonomous capability or anything like that. You know, they are still a pretty basic vehicle for the day that we're living in, but with a basic sport model with a two-door cloth top manual rather windows and locks, you're looking for somewhere in the $25,000 range or so. Now obviously you could negotiate this down, but that is where the most basic of Jeeps start. This goes all the way up to the fully loaded Rubicon models. Now there were several special editions towards the end of the JK run, but all of those could go well north of $50,000, which is a lot of money here for a Jeep. However, with this Willys, it is somewhere in the middle. I believe this vehicle did have an MSRP of somewhere around $35,000, and I personally feel like that is a somewhat fair price. You know, when you look at similar vehicles with similar off-road capability, there are very few of them. You know, a lot of people and a lot of companies make you pay a lot more for an off-road vehicle, but Jeep here has been bringing it for a fairly reasonable price since their very beginning. Now again, they do have the mud tires here, and you do have an off-road suspension setup. Now in this Willys, you don't have some of the goodies that you'd find in a Rubicon, like those automatic disconnectable sway bars and the lockers. You don't have any of those. You can get this vehicle equipped with a limited slip differential, but overall with the solid front and rear axle and without all those other electronic goodies that ultimately can go wrong, this vehicle is a fairly good deal. You know, you'd be paying $10,000 to $15,000 actually for the Rubicon package, when this has a very similar appearance. It does not, however, again, have those lockers or the disconnectable sway bars, but for most people who simply want the look and some off-road capability, I think you'll be more than happy here with this vehicle. So here is a look under the vehicle now, and you can see the red shocks. Again, that is a very similar setup to what the Rubicons have, with a much more pricey price tag. Also, moving back here, you can see a good look at the tread pattern here on the BFG mud terrains. Again, they are a great tire, and they are a roughly 32-inch diameter tire. So why do I love this vehicle so much? Well, a lot of it goes back to it hasn't changed from its humble roots. Now, from the Willys Overland Company over 75 years ago, the Jeep has not changed a whole lot. You know, from the MB to the CJ and the 7-slot grille there on the front, it is still a true Jeep. So let me know what you think about it, as always, in the comments below. We do really look forward to hearing what you have to say about it. And also, if you're stopping in for the first time, please consider subscribing. It does really help us out. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.